Thank you for joining Enuani Cultural Forum. In case this is your first time of coming across any of our videos, I'm encouraging you to please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button. Today we will be discussing a very interesting topic. Today we will be looking at adultery. But before adultery, there is marriage. In Enuani culture, in Igbo culture, in all of Igbo land, before you can talk about adultery, then you must have performed what is called the Igbo traditional marriage, which involves payment of bride price. The Igbo traditional marriage is known everywhere as Igbanku, and in Igbanku we use two very important traditional spiritual instruments known as Manyanku, which is palm wine, and Oji, which is kola nut. These two materials are used in prayer to cement the marital union. Then, after marriage, what happens? After marriage ceremony has been completed in Igbo land, what follows next is going to interest you. Join me on this very remarkable journey as we discuss marriage, adultery, and then the propitiation of adultery. When can one say adultery has happened? If one is accused of adultery, how can that person defend herself? And if one has already been proven to have committed adultery, or the person is caught in the act, how can propitiations be done? And if propitiation has been done, what is next? If propitiation is not also done, what next? What happens? What if also the husband and children are in cahoot? They are all in collusion to hide or conceal the act of adultery by a woman who is duly married properly like an Igbo woman. What are the consequences? These are the things we'll be considering today. But first, I want to remind you once again, this is Enuani Cultural Forum, and my name is Onwade Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune. Join me on this very remarkable journey. What is adultery? N'Enuani ya na Igbo niile, ije nwunye banụa nwunye ụkwụ na aka, ịnụsịa ke bụ nye ga-emeni naanị ka o si dị na mbụ. After marriage has been contracted in the past in Enuani, a woman is led agba kwugweriri agba kpọsha ndị ndu agba edu n'anya bụ nwata okposho na-ebo anụ a for consummation of marriage, ya bụ nkwa akpọ ime nwa agbọghọ. Because it is believed that every young girl is married a maiden unless that person has been married before and is remarrying. If a girl is married as a maiden, it is believed that she was married a virgin, and therefore the next ceremony after payment of bride price is called Imenwabo, deflowering. A woman is accompanied by her kinswomen who have been delegated for this purpose to accompany her to her husband's place for this single purpose of consummation of marriage. This is the highlight, one of the highlights after the marriage ceremony has taken place. Now the woman has been led to her husband's people. A very interesting ceremony is going to hold here. This ceremony involves the wife, the new wife, because she is no longer a bride. She is going to go into the conjugal room with her husband, and she's going to go with a white cloth. This white cloth is going to be used to test her virginity. Very, very interesting, but very, very real. Now, the kinswomen, her own kinsmen and women, and the husband's people will be outside playing, singing, and dancing as she goes into this consummation room with her husband, who must have eaten very well and also been given palm wine, the dregs of palm wine, as described by our renowned writer Chino Achebe in the book Things Fall Apart. He told them to give him the dregs, for he has a job in hand. Now, this new husband and the wife goes into the consummation room where she is believed to be made a woman. She is going to come out with the white cloth aquacha that was handed over to her by her mother-in-law. If the aquacha is white, is stained with blood, she's going to hand it over to the mother-in-law, and the mother-in-law will show it to her kinswomen, the other brides. The Inyemedi will see that the new wife was met at home. And they will all dance and make merry. The cloth will be taken round and people will be putting money inside to encourage other young girls to keep their virginity. Now, after the marriage has been consummated, what if that white cloth was not bloodstained? She will hand over the cloth, this time to her own mother. It's now like a mark of shame because she has not been able to keep her virginity. And then, no tuber of yam will be sent to the father, no money gifts will be given to her entourage that accompanied her from her father's family. And then if the cloth was bloodstained, on the other hand, gifts like 12 tubers of yam or more will be sent to her father and monetary gifts given to the mother. Now the entourage can dance back home with their daughter. Interesting, right? Now, the young girl who was completely married, her bride price paid, the marriage has been consummated, but she is accompanied back to her father's house, and she is free to stay in this her father's house for a period of 3 years maximum. We are going to look at historical documents and articles written by writers of different extractions in Enuane and even colonial anthropologists that substantiate this claim that after marriage in Enuane and Igbo land, there is what we call a license period, where a young girl who has been completely married can go back to her father's house and live her life the way she wants to. Although families advise their young daughters who are married to be careful in order not to get pregnant for somebody else who is not their husband. Now, let's look at documents that prove this fact to be true. First of all, I'll begin with a colonial anthropologist who reported about Igbos of southern Nigeria. His name is none other than Northcote Thomas. In the book Igbos of Asaba Division wrote in page 74, page 74, paragraph 2. At Ogwashuku, before a girl goes to her husband, she confesses to Adebo and takes with her a hen, fish, and yams. The Ada kills the fowl to the calabash where Ofo is kept. The Ada cooks. The Ada gives food to husband and the wife in their clasped hand. Now we have come across a very interesting report here by colonial anthropologist Northcote Thomas. He wrote in the book Igbos of Asaba Division, page 68. Let me read from the second to the last paragraph. In most of the districts, the rule is when a girl has gone to her husband and returned to her parents, she is required to return to her husband either at the end of 12 months or after a child is born. At Ibuzo, the former rule prevails, but she may remain with her parents after the birth of a child, in which case the husband must send food for her to her father's house. While she is living in her parents' house, she may go to see her husband and remain not more than one night. If she stays longer than she must stay altogether, she is allowed to have friends out of any Ebo except her own, but the husband's Idumu is also accepted. Her friends may come to her father's house when her husband is not there and will also do work for her parents. At Ogwashuku, the rule is for the girl to stay 7 months with her husband before she goes back to her parents, and if conception has taken place, she remains with him permanently. If she goes back to her father, she remains at most 3 years. Here, not only her own Ebo, but all her husband's Ebo are ruled out as her friends. The ordinary rule at Ogwashuku with regards to widow is that the father's brother takes the mother of the eldest son and the eldest son takes the remainder. If however, a boy is small, and the father's brother takes all who have gone to their husband, the girl, however, who has gone to her husband and returned to her father's house, may elect to remain in her father's home or go to the brother of the dead man. As regards marriage prohibitions, it is forbidden to marry in one's own or one's mother's able or one's father's mother's able. Marriage in the mother's able is permitted, but it must be outside the idumu. Such marriages must, however, be rare, for any information had not heard of any cases. At Ubuluku, a girl stays 3 months with her husband and then returns to her parents, whether conception has taken place or not. After going to her father's house, she may stay 3 years or return earlier at will. I was informed that in a number of cases, girls who had finally gone to their husbands decided to leave them again and return to a small house which may be built near their father's house. This after repaying the price. Where a woman does this, the children belong to her father, for she is reckoned as Idebwe. At Obolono, a girl goes to her husband from 1 to 3 months or may remain with him altogether. If she returns to her father's house, she may remain away as much as 3 years. This period appears to be growing longer, and here as elsewhere, the natives say that formerly a girl's mother sent her to her husband, but at the present day, the girl threatened to summon her husband to receive repayment of bride price if any pressure is put upon her. At Idumujuboko, application is made for a girl soon after birth, but decision is apparently delayed for some years. Now, these are proofs that when a marriage has been contracted, family can still decide to hold back their daughter. In fact, it is tradition that after the marriage has been consummated, as you saw from what Northcote Thomas recorded, after marriage has been consummated, she can return to her father's house. If she has not conceived, it is a license period. But after this license period, that is where our interest is. After this license period, where she is now interested in returning to her husband's house, she must do this that I am going to talk about now. It is called Ifasho. Ifasho is a traditional ritual done for a young girl who has gone through any of these. One, a bride price has been paid on her and she returned to her father's house. Now in her father's house, she made friends, probably had sexual relationships with these friends, probably had people also make remarks on her. Remarks like, I could have married you, but I did not. I wish I did. I would have been the one that married you. Those kind of talks are considered iffy. So she goes through this traditional process known as Ifasho. She will be led by the Ada in that Ebo to the Ada in the family where they perform this rite of Ifasho. I'm going to read from the book, The Story of Obolo Kingdom, written by a renowned writer, Esther Wright. In page 141 of The Story of Obolo Kingdom, Esther Wright wrote, in ancient Obolo, it is said that on completion of a bride price, the woman is sent to the husband's house for a few days to be deflowered if she is a virgin. She is returned to her parents' home and is free to do whatever she likes until it is time for her to go back to the husband's house. This time, a message is sent to the husband's people that their wife is ready to come home. It is at this point that Ifa Asho ritual is introduced, since some women play around, but usually families counsel their daughters to behave and conduct themselves well so as not to bring shame on the family by getting pregnant for another man, apart from the man who paid her bride price. This exemplifies the spiritual significance of Ifa Asho ritual. Now, we have explained Ifa Asho ritual as the moment a woman performs the Ifa Asho ritual, she is now declared to have entered Nso. Now, this aspect of Enuane culture has been watered down, has even almost been forgotten, that people do marriage ceremonies, pay bride price, and then go straight into marriage without paying attention to this Ifa Asho ritual. This Ifa Asho is what cleanses the person from the previous things she may have done that has defiled her. Things that the woman has gone into that does not in any way edify her. So she undergoes Ifa Asho that is conducted by the Ada in that Igbo before she now enters marriage. Once she enters marriage, she is considered to be in her Nso. Any remark made after Ifa Asho on her that she considers Ifi, she will do her hand on her head 3 times like this and say, Ifi pom na sho, akam si ba no, antemano kwana nyiku, tufue. Things like that, and she reports such remarks and the people who make such remarks to her husband. Now, where it is proven for any reason, or where a woman is accused of adultery, she is first of all arrested by the women folk and brought to the house of the Ada in that Igbo, who would hold her, conduct a meeting and a fair hearing for her to ask, did you at any time zoyokunofia? That is the euphemism. The woman is said to have stepped her feet in the bush. No hanyokunoshia, kobno hanyokunofia, kobno zoyokunofia. Before you now say that she is accused, is an accused person, the lineage of her is brought for her to swear. But if she fails to pass through this process of swearing, she is considered guilty. If she swears also, she is considered innocent and she goes home. But if she turns out guilty, that is when we now arrive at the topic we are going to discuss, which is ACIP, propitiations of adultery. Proper propitiation of adultery. What are the stages of propitiation of adultery? What are the processes of propitiation of adultery, which we call atonement, which after a woman has undergone this propitiation, she can harmoniously continue to live with her husband without incurring any spiritual consequences. What are the processes of propitiation of adultery?